Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take complex material and really try to dissect it.
And turn it into something useful.
Exactly. Turn that information into actual insight. And today we're focusing on something a bit different, physical performance and efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
We are diving deep into a very detailed, high-impact, and this is key, zero equipment home workout routine. It's titled Day 29 Full Body Power plus Fat Burn.
And this one is fascinating. I mean, it's not just a list of exercises. It presents itself as this rigid, time-optimized system.
Right.
It's designed to solve a really specific problem.
Yeah.
How do you get maximum results with, well, maximum constraints?
That's the mission right there. So we're taking this 25 to 30-minute blueprint, and we're asking, how does it actually hit its three very ambitious goals?
Which are?
Max calorie burn, strength, and endurance. And all of that while strictly requiring no equipment at all. We want to understand the sort of the engineering of this thing.
Well, the goals themselves are a dead giveaway for the methodology.
Awesome.
When you demand max calorie burn, strength, and endurance in just half an hour, you're immediately pushed into the world of high-intensity interval training, HIIT.
So the structure has to be all about maximizing oxygen consumption.
It has to be.
Yeah.
We're talking about generating a huge amount of work very, very quickly. This isn't your steady-state cardio. This is metabolic disruption.
Okay.
Exactly. That title, Power plus Fat Burn, it dictates the entire physiological intent. The goal is to force your body into what's called oxygen debt.
So if you're breathing heavily, struggling to keep up, that's the point.
That's the entire point.
Yeah.
You're using your anaerobic energy system.
Mm.
And the real key, the benefit, is something called EPOC excess post-exercise oxygen consumption.
I've heard of that.
Basically, you work so hard during the routine that your body has to keep consuming extra oxygen for hours after you finish just to get back to its resting state. And that's what maximizes the fat and calorie burn long after the session is over. The entire structure exists just to trigger that response.
I see. And to support that intensity, the structure is incredibly rigid. It breaks down into 4 parts. A warm-up, the power and strength circuit, what it calls a core crusher finisher, and then the cool-down.
And in a routine this condensed, you can't skip any of them. I mean, skipping a phase would compromise either your performance or your safety. The efficiency has to start from minute 1.
Okay, so let's unpack that starting line, the warm-up. It's exactly 4 minutes long, 4 movements, each one for 60 seconds. We start with jumping jacks, then arm circles with shoulder rolls, then high knees, and it finishes with bodyweight squats.
And that sequence is completely strategic. It's not random.
Right.
The jumping jacks, they're a dynamic primer. They get your core temperature and heart rate up almost instantly, but with low risk. Then you move right into joint prep, the arm circles and shoulder roll.
For the push-ups and burpees later.
Exactly. You're mobilizing the shoulders and the upper back.
I did notice one specific instruction for the high knees. It directs you to go from slow to fast within that 1 minute. That feels very deliberate for such a short segment.
Oh, it is absolutely intentional. That isn't just cardio. It's neurological priming.
Urological.
Yeah, you're basically cueing your muscles and your brain to get ready for fast, explosive movements. You move from a controlled pace to maximal motor unit recruitment, but without totally exhausting yourself before you even start.
And the warm-up ends with a full minute of bodyweight squats. Why end the prep with a compound strength move?
Think of it as the final ramp-up before the sprint. Squats activate the biggest muscle groups in your body, the glutes, quads, hamstrings, which are about to take the brunt of the work.
Okay.
So by priming them with a full minute of controlled movement, you make sure they're ready to perform under that high-intensity interval without risking a sudden strain. It's the perfect bridge between a gentle warm-up and the high-impact circuit.
That brings us to the main event then, the power and strength circuit. The source says this is the engine that drives the whole thing.
It is.
And it's all controlled by a very specific timing ratio.
This ratio is the heart of the routine's efficiency. We're talking 3 full rounds, and the interval timing is a non-negotiable 45 seconds on-end, followed by only 15 seconds of rest.
A 3-to-1 work-to-rest ratio, that sounds brutal. What's the physiological point of that specific timing? Why not, say, 30-30?
The 45-15 split is chosen for a very precise reason. It minimizes your recovery time so much that your body can't fully clear out the metabolic byproducts, like lactate, before the next 45-second burst begins.
So you never fully recover.
Never. This forces your body to rely more and more on its anaerobic systems throughout the entire circuit. If you rested for 30 seconds, you might recover too much. That would diminish the EPO2 effect we talked about.
So 15 seconds is just enough time to get into position for the next move.
Exactly. Just long enough to transition safely, but nowhere near long enough to let your cardiovascular system recover. That's how they guarantee that max calorie burn goal is met.
Okay, the timing engine is set. Let's look at the exercises themselves, the 5 pillars of this circuit. You repeat them sequentially for all 3 rounds. We should probably analyze the pairings here.
Let's do it. Let's break down the movements and what the source says their goals are.
All right, movement 1 is the infamous burpee, highlighted for full body power and fat burn. Then movement 2 right after that is squats for legs, glutes, stamina. But hold on, after 45 seconds of burpees, which just fry your cardio, your arms, shoulders, legs, isn't jumping straight into squats a recipe for your form to just completely collapse?
That is the core challenge of the routine, and it's completely intentional. The burpee is, it's the ultimate full body power move. It creates this incredible metabolic demand. Pairing it with squats immediately forces what we call localized muscular fatigue in your lower body while your heart rate is already through the roof.
So you're going from a total body explosive move to a high volume lower body endurance move.
Precisely. You're hitting strength and power first, then immediately testing stamina. The point is to manage fatigue, not to avoid it.
And the source material allows for adaptation, right?
That's the critical insight here for anyone doing this. The routine makes it clear that good form has to come before maximum output. Always.
Which brings us perfectly to movements 3 and 4, which follow that same logic. Movement 3, push-ups, targeting chest, shoulders, arms. Then you launch right into movement 4, jump lunges.
Classic strength to plyometric progression.
What does that mean?
You move from a controlled, high-tension strength movement, the push-up, which burns out your chest and triceps, straight into an explosive or plyometric move with the jump lunges.
And the source specifically calls out jump lunges for explosive leg strength. But if my legs are already shot from the burpees and squats in the first round, those jump lunges are going to be a monumental challenge.
They absolutely will be. And that's why the progression is so effective for hitting that power goal. By fatiguing the muscles first with strength work, like push-ups and squats, and then demanding a maximum rapid explosive contraction with the jump lunges.
You're targeting a specific muscle fiber.
You're selectively recruiting and challenging those fast-twitch muscle fibers, the ones that contribute most to power and lean muscle. You're making sure that even though you're moving fast, the quality of the stimulus is really high.
And again, the modification allowance is key. The source says step-back lunges if needed. Why is that option so important for an explosive exercise?
It's purely about form and injury prevention. Plyometric moves like jump lunges have a higher risk of injury, especially when you're already tired.
Gets sense.
If you lose stability in your knee or your ankle during that jump, the exercise becomes dangerous. So switching to a controlled step-back lunge lets you maintain the tension and the muscular effort, keeping the intensity up while sacrificing the explosion to protect your joints. It makes it accessible for all 3 rounds.
And then we finish the circuit with movement 5, plank shoulder taps, a stabilization move after all that power.
This is a really sophisticated way to end the circuit. It specifically targets core plus shoulder stability. After 3 minutes of jumping, pushing, squatting, all these vertical movements, the body needs to reset and engage those deep anti-rotational core muscles.
So it's not just holding a plank, you're actively fighting against rotation.
Precisely. All those other power moves required a lot of core stabilization, but this move isolates it. It stops your spine from twisting while your arms are moving, forcing the deep abs and obliques to fire hard while you're already metabolically taxed. It's the perfect end before that brief 15-second rest and the start of the next round.
Okay, so once we survive all 3 rounds of that power and strength circuit, we move straight into the core crusher finisher. And the structure changes quite a bit here.
It does. The intensity shifts. It moves away from compound power and into isolated endurance.
Right.
The finisher is 2 distinct rounds, 30 seconds for each exercise. And you get your first real break. A full 1-minute rest between the 2 rounds.
That minute must feel like heaven after the 45-15 torture. And the sequence is all deep ab isolation. Bicycle crunches, then leg raises, and then flutter kicks.
This is where you maximize metabolic fatigue in the deep abdominal region. The main circuit used the core for stability, right? The finisher uses it for controlled, repetitive motion.
Right.
Bicycle crunches hit the obliques and upper abs. Leg raises focus heavily on the lower abs and hip flexors. And then flutter kicks just sustain that deep lower core burn. The sequence guarantees a complete muscular burnout for the entire core.
Now, the final exercise here is a plank hold, but there's a unique detail. The instruction says the hold is extended to 45 seconds, but only in the last round. Why that extra 15 seconds right at the very end?
That extra 15 seconds is the final structural and, I'd say, psychological peak of the workout. The whole finisher is built on 30-second bits, right? It establishes a rhythm. By deliberately breaking that rhythm for the very last move and extending it when your body's stabilizers are at their absolute limit, you're forcing yourself into a state of static, maximal endurance. It's the final push. It signals the absolute end of the work.
Okay, with that final plank done, the effort phase is over. We then transition to the mandatory recovery, this 4-minute cool down and stretch.
Crucial, absolutely crucial. After pushing your heart rate and muscles that hard, you have to bring the body down gently. It helps recovery begin immediately and prevent stiffness.
And this phase is also precisely timed. 5 recovery elements. We start with a 30-second hamstring stretch, 30 seconds for a quad stretch, and 30 seconds for a chest opener.
Notice the targeted recovery there. Those 3 stretches hit the main muscle groups that were under the most load during the circuit: the legs, the glutes, the chest, the shoulders. A 30-second hold is enough to start elongating those tight, tired muscles.
Then the timing changes. The session ends with a full minute in child's pose and a final minute just for deep breathing. We go from 30-second stretches to 60-second holds.
And that transition is profoundly important, not just physically, but neurologically. Child's pose is fantastic for decompressing the spine and calming the hips. And spending a full minute on deep breathing is essential for shifting your nervous system.
Shifting it how?
During that 45-15 circuit, your body was basically in fight or flight mode. This final minute of deep, controlled breathing signals to your nervous system that the threat is over. It kicks in the rest and digest response. It's the final, necessary step for recovery and mental reset.
So what we've analyzed today is really a masterclass in efficiency. This blueprint, Day 29 Full Body Power plus Fat Burn, it's not just a collection of hard exercises.
Not at all.
It's a strategically sequenced, timed workout designed to get the maximum physiological response within the constraints of 30 minutes and no gear. We've seen the calculated cruelty of the 45-15 split, the logic behind the strength to plyometric sequencing,
And the necessity of the core finisher and the recovery. It truly is a study in purposeful movement. And if we connect this design to the bigger picture, the key takeaway for you, the learner, is really in understanding this concept of structured progression that the routine follows.
Lay that out for us.
Well, think about the energy arc we just dissected. The routine starts with dynamic movement and warm-up. Then it moves into explosive and timed power intervals in the circuit. It then transitions into static endurance with that final 45-second plank hold.
And it ends with passive recovery.
And concludes with sustained passive recovery stretches. It's a complete system that manages intensity and fatigue across 4 very distinct phases.
It's a very clean flow when you lay it out like that.
Exactly. And so the final thought is this. Think about how understanding that structured flow moving from a dynamic start to a static peak and then into passive recovery can inform any training goal you set for yourself, whether you're training for a marathon or just trying to get through a busy week. Recognizing how to strategically manage that intensity flow. That's the real secret behind designing genuinely effective sessions.